So in terms of the news then, I've turned to good old the Coin Telegraph. For this article by William Suberg, published a mere 38 minutes ago, that says Bitcoin city Liberstad to begin development after Bitcoin property pre-sale. Okay, so let me attempt to boil all this down to its essence. The question is, can society operate without a formal government administration? Now, put another way, would it work if we privatized absolutely everything? Now, I lean towards yes. Based on the research I've done in this area, the model with the property stuff in these private cities seems to be that someone buys some private land and then they sell, quote, memberships to people. That is, instead of renting out properties and becoming a landlord or formally selling the real estate to the people who are going to live there, right? And there are three places that we're going to look at today who all use this sort of membership model to allow these little private cities or private villages to operate like in self-contained areas and jurisdictions, if you like, despite them being inside an existing larger nation such as like Norway in the case of Liberstad, or Chile in the case of Fort Galt, or the United States of America in the case of the Garden of Eden. Now, I suppose even this model, the organization that administers the memberships is still a form of government, but that's required by the national government more than anything. It's the only way to really make this work in the current political situation that we've got around the world. So the article actually says that Norway is to get its own private activist city, Liberstad, entirely funded by the private sector. Now, what appeals to me most about this whole concept is this. Imagine if there were thousands of these private cities, and each one with its own culture and its own rules. Right? You find the one that matches your personal philosophy and the way you want to live, and then you move there. I mean, imagine how much your life would flow if you lived in a place where the residents all shared at least the same basic core beliefs. Right? You wouldn't have to agree on everything. Just the fundamental worldviews would be enough. Now, the reason I'm talking about this on the cryptoverse is because this is exactly how I see the hundreds of different cryptocurrencies that exist. Each cryptocurrency offers a slightly different economic system, which you can then voluntarily opt into. They showcase the benefits of private currencies, and now we're seeing experiments with private cities. And then it says in the orange here that the, quote, private city, for which a land sale has run since 2015 and requires a certain uptake to be reached by June of this year, paid for in either Bitcoin or Norwegian kroner, and it will feature freehold properties and private ownership and all that sort of stuff. Now, this place is in Norway, but there's another one I've been looking at. It's called Fort Galt, and it's in Chile. And then, like I was saying, there's a place called the Garden of Eden, which is in the United States. It seems to be the same kind of model. They use a modified crowdfunding approach, like especially in the case of Fort Galt, where they collect money from the investors and future citizens as the project progresses and as they build it. And Fort Galt in particular, they also take cryptocurrencies, as you might expect. And then Fort Galt run the membership model. In that case, though, you have a membership for life, which gives you like the same use of the property as if you did own it. It just kind of has to be this membership model in order to make it work legally and for it to operate as a sort of private residency. So moving on to the yellow bit here, it says, responsible for the initial development of the, quote, free market enclave, the non-profit Liberstad Drift Association was formed by organizers John Holmesland and Sondre Gilles. Now, of course, the administration needs to be a non-profit, kind of like a government. The difference here, though, is that the government is private. Now, I'm not even sure if that is a paradox, a private government. I'm not sure if that's possible. This is all very much a new concept, so I haven't entirely got my head around it yet. And I don't think even people developing these projects have. It's experimental, and the only way to find out is to do it, right? It says the social and legislative fabric of Liberstad would follow bespoke principles with only, quote, minimal laws and no taxes whatsoever. Now, it sounds very idealistic to me, but it also sounds an awful lot like how the United States was formed. And as far as I understand, the Founding Fathers believed in keeping the government small, but look what happened over time. The question for me as we begin to build these new private cities is this: how do we prevent them from going down the same slippery slope? And the best answer I have for that at the moment is decentralization. Keep it limited to private cities, so that if the administration becomes corrupt, A, it's limited to a single city, and then B, the residents can simply move to the next city that isn't corrupt. And that creates an incentive for the administration to stay honest. By having thousands of these different self-contained private cities, the administration would have to compete to offer the best quality of life for their residents. Now, that's kind of how countries are supposed to work in my mind. However, national governments are given the impossible task of governing an area that's far too large to be effective. That's why I say break it down into private cities. It says down here in the blue that the territory's legality is still under scrutiny, but the first citizenships are already claimed, the project having reportedly received 200,000 applications within a week. Now, I'll be honest with you, my interest in this trend goes beyond merely bringing it to your attention on the cryptoverse. I'm starting to consider whether this is on my own path. There's definitely something in this for me, I just don't know what it is yet. And then the final bit in purple says that Jedlicka, who founded this place called Liberstad in 2015, told Cointelegraph in November that the state would be prepared to migrate from Bitcoin as its official currency to an altcoin such as Dash, should practical conditions around its use change. And this is where private currencies and private cities meet. When everything is voluntary, when no one is forced to continue using something that doesn't work, that's really the bottom line for me. If a city is using Bitcoin as its private currency, and it's no longer fit for purpose, the city can just switch its official currency to something else in a flash, especially when the currency is digital. The private currencies have to compete with each other to be the best forms of money so that they get adopted in as many private places as possible. Now, today we've only spoken about private cities and private currencies, but imagine how everything else would be transformed in the same way. Now, I'll say one more thing before I close today and before the comments erupt with socialists. Imagine how much better off all the disadvantaged people in our world would be if all charities went private. They would also have to compete with each other to provide the best possible service to the homeless, to the elderly, to the disabled, etc. If I, as an income-earning private citizen, am going to donate my money to charity, I am investing in improving the well-being of someone else, and I want the maximum well-being possible for the money that I donate. And because of that, the private charities would have to work as hard as any business to come up with better, faster, cheaper, and more effective ways of housing more homeless people, providing higher and higher quality care for the elderly, and creating real economic opportunities for the truly disadvantaged. That's the world I'm helping to build, and I hope you are too.